Hi, I'm Bo Dewar. I'm an aging sports writer and a soccer dad, and I wrote a book about both experiences called Single Digit Soccer, Keeping Sanity in the Earliest Ages of the Beautiful Game. There's a topic that has come up in youth soccer, and it is this. Seriously, you don't have to cut kids from soccer teams before age 12. That's not what we're doing right now, right? We have tryouts for travel at U10, U9, U8, and so forth. That's not necessarily the way we have to do it, though. It's not necessarily the way it's done overseas. So let's go through the issue and see what's going on here. First of all, we're losing players. You look at this stat here. This is from the Sports and Fitness Industry Association, cited by Project Play, which is a very interesting survey you should all read, and I have a link to it beneath this video. Look there. Soccer has dropped from 5.6 million in 2008 to 2013, to 5 million in 2013. These are our future elite players, so this is not just a recreational issue. This is a problem that we're all facing. It's also our future recreational players. It's our future fans. It's people that we just want to get a positive experience with the game so that soccer can continue to grow in this country. This is also a concern of the American development model. This is being driven by the U.S. Olympic Committee. Other sports have been doing it, USA hockey especially. And notice here one of the recommendations they have. Limit cuts for ages 0 through 12 in sport programs and focus on developing skills over competition outcomes. Now look at it again here. One of the key principles of the American development model, refocusing on high participation recreation leagues instead of exclusionary elite competitive travel teams for U12. So the idea is to keep as many kids as possible in the game. That's what everyone's trying to do here. And this was actually going to be a topic at the recent NSCAA Coaches Convention in Baltimore, but unfortunately the person who was going to lead that session had to leave, and so that didn't happen. But there were a couple of sessions on the American development model, and we did talk about this. And let's think for a second what elite means anyway at age 6 through 12. See these arrows going back and forth, because you may have a kid at U6 who is just athletically ahead, probably born in the first couple of months of the whatever year you're using. And then by U9, maybe that kid's not dominant anymore. Maybe everyone else is caught up. You may have a kid who is the opposite, sort of a late bloomer, if you can say late bloomer at U11, which doesn't seem to make much sense. You can have a kid who comes out and plays for the first time at age 8 and all of a sudden go, wow, that kid actually has some aptitude for this game. So it's sort of a meaningless label at that point. So do you really want to take that top of the pyramid and wall them off from everybody else? No. Let's look at this. Free play. It's something that we encourage. We wish kids did more of, right? And that can be playing at recess. That could be just playing in the neighborhood. I know we don't have many neighborhood soccer fields in this country. I wish we did. Or people going out and playing futsal on tennis courts. That's a movement that some people are trying to get. So we will have more free play. Some clubs are trying to have free play nights. That's great. But for the meantime, in the U.S., house soccer, recreational soccer, is going to be the equivalent of free play for a lot of people. It's where they play with their friends. It's where they play with their peers. And how important is free play? Let's take a look at one of the most heralded academies in the world. This is Ajax in Amsterdam. You think youth academies, the first two that come to mind are usually Ajax and Barcelona. So this is what Ajax says. They're 12-year-olds, only train 3 times a week, and then they play a lot on weekends. They play a match on weekends, and they think that even that is a lot to be training with the other elites there at the Ajax Academy. So what else do? They're told they should go out and play with their friends. Now, in most cases, their friends are not likely to be other Ajax Academy players. They're just going to be kids in the neighborhood with a wide range of ability. So Ajax tells its U12s, go play with anyone you can find. They're not limiting your play to just elite things. Now, obviously, they're getting elite coaching at Ajax, and that's great. But they're also going out and being free. and it is this very freedom that enhances and encourages their creativity, according to IATS. And I'm not one to argue with them, not over something like this, not when there's so much other research that backs it up. So if you want to try to establish something at your club to meet everybody's needs, you have to ask first, what are your objectives? Now, I know we all hate mission statements and things like that, but trust me, there will be some good that comes out of this. For clubs and coaches, you want to develop players to reach potential, and that could mean just a rec player who is never going to go higher than maybe making the high school team. It could mean players who are going to go on and be professionals. It's everybody. You want to be able to develop everybody to reach their potential, and you want to retain players. Now, it's not going to be 100%. The American development model encourages multi-sport sampling. They want kids to play a variety of sports, and by the time they're 14 or so, they may choose just one, and it might not be soccer, and that's okay, as long as you've given them a positive experience, so that when this 14-year-old basketball player is a 34-year-old parent, maybe he or she says, well, I had a good time playing soccer. I'm eager to sign my kid up for that. So it helps. So retaining players is not just keeping a player from season to season. It's keeping people interested in soccer, loving the sport. That's all we can ask at this age. What are parents and kids' objectives? Well, one overlaps nicely. Reach your potential. They just want to see what their kids can do. And it could be playing with friends, it could be playing for DC United or for Barcelona or for Werder Bremen. Those are all good possible outcomes. Another, of course, is get exercise. Look, we are turning into a flabby nation. We need to try to right that ship and stop that now, and that's one reason why a lot of organizations like Project Play are worried about sports in general. It's because we're not getting enough exercise. We're becoming an obese country. Third objective here, fun. It's supposed to be fun, right? This is a game. And if it's not fun, kids aren't going to want to play it anymore. They'll go play lacrosse. They'll go, or more likely, they'll go play video games. So you really need to work on making sure it's fun. And fun's going to be different for different kids. For some kids want a serious soccer game, and you should try to give that to them. Some kids just want to kick around and so forth, and well, try to meet that too. It's difficult, but here are some ideas, and I fleshed out a lot of this in a column I wrote at Soccer Wire. You can find it in the links. A fully legal way to set up youth soccer leagues, not strictly by birth year. This is in response to the birth year age group controversy, which is still going on. It was a big topic of conversation in NCAA. And the bottom line is, U.S. soccer is not going to come pounding down your door if you do innovative rec programs. They're just not. The birth year registration will be very strictly enforced at elite levels of the game, and less so down the line. And they may not officially tell you, oh, you can do whatever you want with your rec programs, although clubs who have written in for guidance have actually heard that yes, it's okay, we can set up your rec program by school year if you want. But there are other things you can do here that meet a lot of different objectives. So let's take a look at just a couple of possibilities. One is, don't group players strictly by age at all. Move them up as they learn. This is something our local Little League does, and it means that if you're new, you're not tossed in with everybody else from the same age who's been playing for 3 or 4 years. You can start out at a lower level. It doesn't mean you're starting out, a third grader starting out with kindergartners, but it means a third grader might start out in a league that's mostly second graders. And as they learn, they move up. Have after-school programs. Think about what we ask kids to do, or ask parents to do these days. Okay, you're at work, your kid just finished the school day. Okay, that kid has to go somewhere for 2 hours until soccer practice, which might be right back at the same school, because quite often that's where the field is. If you have a team that's organized by neighborhood, that's often where you're practicing. What if you went out and did an after-school program? And parents are desperate for after-school programs. That's why martial arts studios are thriving on the notion that, look, we'll send a van to your school, pick up your kid, put them in a good environment for 2 hours, they'll learn some discipline. And so you have parents who, they don't care how, they're not worried that their kids are going to be professional karate experts or taekwondo stars. They just want their kids to be in a good environment for a couple of hours. Why not offer it as soccer? And then what you can do with these programs is form teams by ability and by friendships. Just say, okay, look around, these people should be a team, these people should be a team, then you play a little scrimmage on the weekend. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And again, U.S. Soccer is not going to come beating down your door if you run a program like this. It's innovative. It helps. Offer additional training, and for some of the age groups, games for promising players. And I say promising here because this is not just elite as in someone who looked good at a tryout because she is athletically ahead of the rest of the class. No, these promising means people who have some talent, maybe some athleticism, but also the interest and aptitude. They really want to come out and play, because those are the people who are going to be most enthusiastic about it. Get the people who want to come out and play and offer them something else. And so that way, this helps meet the elite need. You know, you can bring a pool of kids in for additional training and then say, okay, and we're going to go play this other club next weekend, and we're going to have 4 teams, and then, you know, you don't make a big deal out of it, but you maybe take your best players and put them on an A team, and the other club does the same thing. There are ways that you can do this and have your elite players, whatever that means, play another club's elite players. And those elite players don't have to be the same from week to week, because things change so often, so quickly at these age groups. You can reshuffle them from week to week. So that's another idea. And here's one that goes back to not grouping strictly by age. Make U11 the soccer equivalent of Little League's majors. Make it the top competition in your community, something that people pay attention to. And you know, in our area, it's some kids will play in the major leagues for 3 years, some will play for 1. But everyone has the right or the opportunity to play in that competition. And so this would include all U11s, a lot of U10s, basically, as long as you have some experience and have shown some aptitude, and perhaps offer that as a little carrot to get people to your additional training sessions. If you've done additional training, okay, you get to be in the majors at U10, and then advanced U9s. And you know, that's where you can be selective. That's fine. You're still not cutting anybody. You're simply offering a select group an additional opportunity. So that meets the elite need without cutting anybody. Then by U12, you'll know your club well enough to divide them into tiered teams, and by then it's not quite as important to play with a neighbor or play with a schoolmate. Kids will be going off to middle school by then. It's a bigger school, and so they're getting out of their neighborhoods already. And in soccer terms, they're really interested in playing with people who have similar aptitude, similar interest, and so you can have friendships form across town, and that's good. And then you should know all your players by then, because they've been through all your programs. And you can say, okay, well, this is our A team, and then we're going to have a couple of couple of B teams, or slightly lower, than some developmental travel teams. And then you don't even have to say that you're making a hard wall between competitive and recreational. You really don't. It's just that, you know, some teams are going to play better competition, some teams are going to have professional coaches, some are going to have parents. Which brings me to one last very important point. Educate parent coaches. This is where we're falling down right now, because we've taken the licensing track that U.S. Soccer has and really geared it so specifically toward professionals. It's very difficult for a parent coach to complete the D license. I know this firsthand, because we're now supposed to get video of our training sessions, which is quite an imposition on my parents. One of them did it, but I appreciate that, but there wasn't much I could show. And you have to do all sorts of self-reflective things, and it's 2 full weekends plus homework. That's very difficult. Now, on the other end, the F license, now available online, is great. That's 2 hours online. You're watching videos, you're watching coaches like Shannon McMillan coach, and that's wonderful. As a club, you should be going through now then and supplementing that, giving coaches some practical advice and bringing them in, watching them train as best you can. Anything you can do to help your parent coaches, because parent coaches want to learn, most of them anyway. So there's a lot more about some of these ideas in Single Digit Soccer. You can buy the book. The ebook is $4.99 at all ebook retailers that I know of, including some that I'd never heard of, but was able to submit them there anyway. You can also get a print copy if you go to Amazon. You can read more about my writing and about youth issues at singledigitsoccer.com, or I write frequently for soccerwire.com on a lot of youth issues. And you can always reach me on Twitter at DoerSport. Thanks so much for watching.